You noble diggers, all stand up now. It's Amigos, episode 315. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And Aaron, today on Amigos, we're going to be talking about diggers. Aaron,
Oh, man.
Aaron, what's the deepest hole you've ever dug?
Well, you mean metaphorically or other? Because I'm sure,
Answer it any way you like.
I'm sure metaphorically I've dug some pretty deep holes on this actual show. But you know, when I was a kid, maybe all kids do this, but you always heard that you could dig a hole to China. This is going to sound so generic, like it's off a sitcom.
Right.
But I had a piece of, when I was a kid, Mom and Dad had one of those railings around their house, around their porch that was like a spiral, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I ripped one of those off, and I used to use it to dig holes.
I bet they loved that.
They didn't mind. I don't think they knew. And so I would dig holes with this thing, and I thought to myself, I'm going to dig me a hole and see if I can go all the way through. That was the plan. I was a little kid. I know this sounds stupid, but I mean, I was that kind of naive idiot, okay? So I started digging holes. It turns out that a lot of Hurricane is over top of like what used to be a river. No kidding, it's Taze River. So there's a lot of water underneath there. And eventually I dug so far down that I hit some water, believe it or not, and then I stopped. So I didn't get that far. But I did used to have a lot of fun digging holes and just playing at them, like burying stuff. I used to play like cars in them, stuff like that. I'd say most recently, the hole I dug to bury the internet and electrical out to the arcade was probably the most recent colossal hole I dug.
I wouldn't call that a hole as much as a trench, though.
It was a trench, but it got pretty deep there, you know. But that's me. What about you?
You know, I too was obsessed with digging holes when I was a kid. I just thought it was great. I thought there would be something down there in the bottom of the hole, and just like you can't really do it around here because you just dig so far and you just start hitting water.
Yeah,
and then
because we're in Taze Valley, and there used to be a Taze River that ran right through it that made the valley. There you go.
Yeah. And so I did bury. Did you ever bury a time capsule?
No, because I'm not patient enough. There's no way I could have kept something buried. Everything I buried, I dug up almost sometimes the same hour that I buried it. I could, like, if I'd put a toy, like I'm going to bury this buried treasure. No, I always dug it up. I couldn't handle it.
Well, Aaron, let's talk about some more buried treasure this week. Aaron, Amiga Addict, of course, is Britain's best-selling Amiga magazine. They put out an issue each and every month, jam-packed full of interesting stories. And this week, I thought we'd take a look at a story from the newest issue of Amiga Addict, and it's all about an interview with the Apollo team. I think that the Apollo team is sort of more relevant than ever these days. Of course, they made waves 3 or 4 years ago with the introduction of the Vampire, which in its various guises could have either been a board that goes inside your Amiga that gives it superpowers, or even a standalone unit that allows you to have basically what amounts to a super fast Amiga thanks to FPGA technology. So in this article, that we basically go through the story of the Vampire unit, and what is even more interesting to me is that they talk about why the Vampire is still relevant today. Today FPGAs are all over the place. You got the Mister, you've got this and that, and people might ask, well, why would I want to spend, what amounts to more money on a Vampire device when I can just get a Mister, or even, look at some of these Raspberry Pi based solutions like the Pi Storm, or, some people just want that HDMI out. So just buying the gimmick that gives you HDMI out. So this is straight from the horse's mouth why the Vampire team thinks that their product is still relevant. And I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff in this. I like this. The article on Psygnosis is really good as well. A lot of good stuff in here. One thing I noticed, it's funny, because we read these things sort of out of order, and I was looking through this, and I noticed on the cover, and then I went back and read the article. There's an article in here, the very last thing in the magazine, and it's by Simon Butler of the Pixel Artist, and he's also a monthly contributor over at Retro Gaming Roundup. And I always enjoy this wacky guy. He's the grumpiest man in all of retro gaming, and he's that sort of amusing grump that's got a bone to pick every month. I always enjoy his stuff on there. I'd hate to piss him off, but I do enjoy his wacky antics. And he's got a little closing article in here as well. So closing out a series he did. So that's a fine touch. There's a lot of like luminaries in the Amiga world that write for this thing. It looks good. It reads quick. A lot of fun stuff. Good ads. And how often are you going to say that? Yeah, check out Amiga Addict, a great magazine.
Absolutely. And we do appreciate them and thank them for being an official sponsor of Amigos. Now, Aaron, let's move on now to the rest of this week's Amiga news, shall we?
There he goes.
Amiga news.
What do we got this month, folks?
All right, we're going to lead things off with probably the biggest story of the week. The A500 Mini project has some new products that they are getting ready to start hawking alongside the A500 Mini itself.
Hawking?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not a derogatory term, is it?
Hawking? They're not dealing old like watches under their jacket. Jeez, man.
Well, there's two new products that they're selling. They're going to be selling the gamepad and the tank mouse from the A500 Mini. You can now buy those separately. You can purchase those separately. And another big change they've made is they've actually changed the color of the gamepad. If you recall, when we announced the A500 Mini, as if you and I announced it to the world for the first time, as we reported on the announcement before, the A500 Mini pad was the same beige color as the mini computer and the mouse. They've changed it to match the CD32's color scheme, and I think it's a change for the better. What do you think?
Well, I'm looking at this thing. It says this is compatible with the A500 and DC64, but it literally has a whole new. They don't have the A500 logo on this thing at all on this particular version. So is this is the same outfit that's selling the actual?
Yeah, it's Retro Games Limited.
So I wonder why they changed the logo. I guess this is since it's not being shipped with it. That's that's why they did it. Well, I like it. I don't know. I kind of like them both, to be completely honest with you. That's not bad. I don't like the fact that it just says the gamepad on it. That's
sort of lame. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
That is sketchy right there. I mean, I've bought
that's
a lot
something
of these,
you get out of the kiosk at the mall. The game system.
I've got a lot of these generic, but even these don't just say the SNES clone written on it or something like that. So I do question that.
Now Duncan brings up a good point. He asks, is the controller that comes with the A500 Mini still going to be beige? And we don't know. We don't know the answer to that. It's possible that the one that they sell separately is going to be black, and the one they sell with the computer is going to be beige, just to match the aesthetic. I don't know. But it is exciting that both of these products are being sold separately, and they're announcing them as being sold separately and not waiting, taking advantage of maybe the customers who aren't sure if they're going to be sold separately. So they buy the A500 Mini, and then they're distraught when later on, you could purchase them separately. And of course, you might want to buy two gamepads anyway for your A500 Mini for some hot multiplayer action. So
I think I would like to have the original one that they pushed as being part of the package. I think I want that with mine, frankly.
Okay.
And then as a separate piece, it's hard to get over. That just looks so stupid. I'm going to bury this. Whoever made that decision, that wrong. Yeah. Calling it the gamepad, that's no good.
I think that Retro Games Limited places too large stock in the fact that they call everything the something. And they're like, man, this just fits right in with our branding to call it the gamepad. Absolutely, because why would they call it the A500?
What was the joystick for the C64 called? Was it called the joystick?
Maybe so. So. I think he throws up an image of it there. The stick.
That's the stick. I don't know, man. I'm not buying it, but that much said. Listen, because listen, you can rub that off, get you some sandpaper.
Yeah.
But I would like the beige one. Frankly, by the way,
there it is. It's called the joystick. I knew it.
Okay, this is a horrible trend. No, I'm saying no to that. No to the joystick and the gamepad. Holy smokes! Well, there you go. Well, we're not gonna get one of those sent to us.
No.
But it looks like a pretty good stick, except for the very stupid naming. There you go.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, shall we? Aaron, the Amiga Game Jam continues to throw up tons and tons of interesting new titles that are works in progress. All of these are reported on by our friend Neil over at Indie Retro News. If you are in need of some of retro news, especially gaming news, based on all the platforms, we both highly endorse IndieRetroNews.com.
You don't think it has any? It doesn't cover any classic apps, but.
No classic spreadsheets on Indie Retro News. WordPerfect 4, the in-depth review. So, Aaron, did you like Wonder Boy back in the day?
No, not really. I'm not gonna, I wasn't very good at it, but I didn't play it a ton.
Wonder Boy is one of my guilty pleasures. Remember how you did that ARG on Guilty Pleasures?
Yes, I did.
Sometimes when it gets a little bit late on the old TeamSpeak regulars, and I've had a couple cold ones. Sometimes I like to fire up the old NES, and and this is always the game that I start out with. This is not a very good game. I'm with you, but there's a certain amount of charm, and it's also very simple. It's a simplistic game. Of course, on the NES, Wonder Boy was known as Hudson's Adventure Island.
Yeah.
But Wonder Boy, the Sega original, is coming to the Commodore Amiga, Aaron.
Listen, this is part of Cammy's contest. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Listen, good. First of all, thumbs up to her. Secondly, hey, this actually is an okay game. I have played this more than a little. Plus, it's got a great song. Can you sing the song? Wonder Boy. Remember that song?
No.
Okay.
Is that real?
Yeah. It's not really about the game, but there's a song called Wonder Boy. And there's also an MMA fighter called Wonder Boy. But which I assume was based on
the
this.
game. Yeah.
But hey, listen, anything you're getting from other systems, it's awesome. This contest is shaping up to be a monster, man.
Yeah,
so
it really is. It really is.
Great.
This time next year, when all these games are out, we're going to be loving life. Speaking of new games that are coming out, there's another one. Get this, Aaron. Pac-Man.
Oh, man.
This is the game that we've all been waiting for on the Coco. Now, of course, we have the deluxe
Amiga.
Pac-Man. Yeah.
Where'd you get Coco?
Did I say the Coco?
The Coco?
Well, I've got Coco on the brain because I was thinking about how much better this is than those stupid, conversion. What do they call them? Transcodes? What a waste of time.
Listen,
now,
don't be an idiot. Those things are top shelf.
This is what we call a real port.
Don't bury the Coco because you misspoke.
So this is a port of the arcade game Pac-Man done by JOTD, and I believe the JOTD is he's done many things for the Amiga, and this looks to be a pretty highly accurate port in terms of the the lead in. I think that the aspect ratio is correct. You get all the board. My big beef with Deluxe Pac-Man is that you don't get the whole board on the screen. I can't stand that.
I'm not a fan of that, and I love Edgar Vigdahl, and I love Deluxe Galaga, but I did not like Deluxe Pac-Man. But people love it, but I don't.
They do. So this looks great. It looks great.
This looks great.
I'm looking forward to playing. I'm not a huge Pac-Man. I think most people prefer Ms. Pac-Man to Pac-Man, but I will definitely give this a go. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this looks real good. JOTD, he does good stuff. Good work. Hey, if you're going to have an Amiga around and you're going to want to play some of these arcade games, why not just make it perfect? Because it can. You know what I mean? Why not? So do it. Now, I don't see anything in here. This is just a conversion. This isn't some sort of emulation or anything like that, right? As far as we know.
We only know from Neil, and he calls it an Amiga conversion. So I don't know if a conversion implies that it's a transcode or if it's just a highly accurate port. And of course, I've done no actual research myself.
It looks well. I mean, it can't be because if you can see the chairs and stuff, it's set to the side. So I'm going to assume he just straight up did this on his own. So, but it looks great. So I can't wait to try that. Is that out? When's this coming out?
It looks like there's an early playable test out.
Very good. Very good. Very good.
All right, we move on, Aaron. Now this one I put in here because it was just so bizarre. Okay, I had to read this headline 3 or 4 times just to make sure I was reading it right.
Hot news.
Turrican 2 is being converted to the Amiga.
Yes.
From the DOS version.
Yes.
Have we talked about this before?
Well, I knew about this. Why did I know this? I don't. It must have been from ARG. But the Turrican 2 for the PC is more advanced than the Amiga version.
What I mean, do you know why that is, or what are some of the advancements, or is it just better graphics? It's
graphically better, smoother. You know, and if we have a look,
it came out much later, right?
That's right. It came. I wouldn't say much later, but it was definitely later in the Turrican in the Turrican lifespan. But I'm not terribly surprised by this. It's kind of neat, you know. What can I say? Some of the PC stuff, when they got it later, they were ahead of the game, you know. So they had better stuff. So,
yeah, and of course, more time in development always leads to a better game. That's just the rules.
Yeah, but hey, listen, if it's getting converted over, we'll see how it fares on the AGA machines.
Yeah,
we'll see if it can go.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Aaron, that's going to wrap up the kind of a slow news week this week, but we got a lot to talk about in terms of the awesome services available at Retro Rewind, and we lead things off with our final news story. I saw this come across the Twitter feed today. Mr. Scumboy, Discord's own Scumboy,
reputable,
has received his another flawless recap by Retro Rewind. So this leads us into our sponsor, Retro Rewind. They are a Canadian outfit who want to help you get the most out of all of your retro Commodore computers. So what do they have on offer? They've got tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Everything from diagnostic kits to cap kits, flash carts, adapters. They've even got the little piece of cardboard that you put in your disk drive to the transit card to keep it safe when you throw it into your van to take it to a show. And their newest thing is this recap service. They offer recaps for all of the Commodore Amigas from the 1000 all the way up to the 4000. Very reasonable price. They're all about $50. Get one of those. They also do just general repairs. If you need something reflowed, or if you've twisted a port off, or you've got some damage, they're happy to help. All you have to do is just send them a request. They'll give you a quote, and you send it right on up to friendly Toronto, Canada, to get your machine serviced. Nothing. I haven't heard anybody say one bad word about Frank and his crew, and that's not just because they're our sponsor. I mean, he's just a genuinely nice guy, isn't he, Aaron?
Yes, sir. And Chris Edwards, who's in the chat, also mentioned they sent you candy as well.
Wow,
so there
you go. Extra bonus.
You know, one thing we don't talk about, this is more Jack Flack and Sprague Castle's territory, but he also is recapping C64s and C128s.
Oh, fantastic.
So if you have a Commodore 64 or 120, which both of us have them both, of course.
Yes.
And it's not like we've treated these things too awful good over the years. I think you poured pop in yours or booze. I wouldn't be surprised.
Then I gave it to John Marshall.
That's what happened, eh? But if you're looking to get your classic vintage Commodores recapped, it's a bang operation, and he will get it done and flip it around and stick it right back in the mail for you. Frank's a good guy, and he absolutely takes care of business, and he does it full time, Boat.
Yeah, he's the man. So we thank Retro Rewind, and don't forget, folks, if you have an order with Retro Rewind, before you check out, click that promo code and type in Amigos 10, save you 10% off your order.
Get some of that money.
That's right. All right, Aaron, before we move on to this game of the week, we do have one little bit of news that I wanted to put right up front, Aaron, and that is we celebrated 2 birthdays this week in our Amigos community. We've got Chris Folds, Lobsterminator. Happy birthday to both you guys. Of course, Aaron, you had a minor birthday last week.
Less than the better, Boat.
Yeah. But we do appreciate the one and only Chris Folds and Lobsterminator. We thank them for being part of our community, and we wish them all the best.
One other item, Boat, we almost forgot, my friend, and you know what it is. It's almost time for the International Computer Club.
That's right.
To kick it back old school, Boat. We're going to do it again. Yeah. It's that time of the year, and especially it's that season. And we're going to kick it in. It's going to be September 18th, Saturday, September 18th. We're going to try to kick this thing off about 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Boat.
Okay, man.
It's usually a slim, trim, tight 3 hours, but never goes over.
Never,
my
never.
friend.
Not once.
And we are already taking people's submissions to get in the game, and we've got a few here to look at. I've got 3 people signed up right now. We would love to get you in. If you've got a project you're working on, if you've got an interesting video you'd like to play, if you'd like to talk about your book collection, your game collection, if you've got a console you just modded, if you're working on a pinball machine, literally there is nothing that's out of bounds, is there, Boat?
You can talk about whatever retro-based project you have, or if you just have, even if you don't have a project, if you've got something cool in your house and you want to talk about it, you can talk about it. We love that stuff.
If we don't, I'm thinking about even doing a little short video on my new pinball machine, Boat.
I would love that
to stick up there. But if you are interested in being a presenter at the International Computer Club, feel free to hit the International Computer Club area of the Discord. Just go in there at the top. There will be a pin you can click on to sign up, the sign up sheet, and then you can go from there. It's that simple. You can tell us how long you're going to last. When you want to go on. We know there's a lot of European listeners that it's going to be a little bit later in the evening for them. So if you want to get in early and get done, you can. We'll set it up. We're easy to work with on that. So again, that would be September 18th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for International Computer Club. Boat should be a good time.
That sounds great. Now, one more small bit of business. Aaron, what do you know about Edvin Helland?
Oh, man. Heck of a gamer, heck of a fellow, has a heck of a man cave over there. I mean, an awesome one. He always goes to the most awesome places. He's an easygoing guy. Great brother, great family man. Been a long-time friend of ours, but we love Edvin.
I tell you, he falls out of a chair like nobody else. I'll tell you that.
You had to bury Edvin.
Well, it's also his birthday. I almost forgot, but I didn't forget Edvin. Happy birthday, man. We wish you all the best wherever you are and whatever the 18th vacation Edvin has taken this month.
We love all the birthday boys. They're all good friends of ours, longtime supporters, and all-around nice eggs, Boat.
Yes. All right, Aaron. Let's move on, shall we? Let's talk about diggers.
Sure enough, Boat. Sure enough. So I'll ask again. This is one that you had played before.
This may be one of the biggest Amiga titles that I'd never even heard of before, let alone played.
Mm-hmm. Well, I knew of this game, but I had not tried it out until this week, Boat. So right up front, we'll say Diggers had 2 releases. There was a Diggers AGA boxed release, and there was a Diggers CD32 release. I looked at both, believe it or not, and ultimately I mostly played the CD32 release. Now,
really?
Well, I'll explain why. It's basically because I'm lazy and I got a wireless stick. So the biggest difference that I could tell between the two is the soundtrack, obviously. It's, the third CD32 has a CD soundtrack, but although a lot of songs are exactly the same, and it gives you the choice between gamepad or a mouse support. I will give them credit; they did build in mouse support to the CD32 version, which is nice, and thankfully it had instructions built in, which was nice. I could go through and kind of read up on the instructions so I could see how I was playing. But I actually sort of went between the two of them. To check them both out, but I mean, aside from those small minor things, I couldn't tell any difference. So Diggers released 93 again on 4 discs or a CD, depending on the flavor you get. Published by an outfit called Millennium. Boat.
Millennium.
Nice. Yeah, it's horrible. Thank God. If they weren't out of business, that would have taken them there. They were responsible for a lot of games we've actually covered on this show, Boat. Brutal Sports Football. They did all the James Pond series, including the aquatic games. Boat,
my favorite.
They also did Wild Cup Soccer. I noticed they were a company that would take a chance on the CD32 when a lot of companies didn't. They were doing stuff for them. This game on the CD32 was a co-release with a game called Oscar. If you ever see the CD for it, it's as generic as the day is long, white with black writing on it.
Well, I was going to say, this was a pack-in with the CD32,
correct.
Wasn't it?
But let me tell you something. pack in or no pack in, they weren't going to give you the privilege of having color. Or it's just the most lame.
The expense was just too out of control.
Yeah.
They had to dial it back.
This was mostly created by a fellow named Toby Simpson. He worked with a few other designers, including Tony Fagelman, Michael Hayward, Ian Saunter, and Jason Wilson. And also Toby also coded this bad boy. The musician in this, one of our old friends, both old and dear friends, Richard Joseph.
Yes, rest in peace.
What hasn't he done? Barbarian 1 and 2, all the James Ponds, Brillo Sports Football, Cannon Fodder, of course, very famous for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch, FYI, if you watch Neil from RMC's video that just came out today as we record this, there at the very, very end of it, there's an interview with one of the guys that were in the group that did Cannon Fodder, and they actually talks about the little video they made at the end with the music, of course. So that's something that kind of ties in. Anyway, he also did Moonstone, Rise of the Robots, all the Sensible Soccer games. Oh, he did a ton of stuff. Richard Joseph did a ton of music. So this got a couple other releases, Boat. Aside from the AGA versions, you also got the PC DOS, the official PC DOS version, and you also, in a rare twist, there was an Acorn Archimedes version of this as well.
That's insane. That's insane.
That's our boy, the old Archimedes.
Yeah,
Gots to get one, but one of these days, just for the name alone. So this game comes up with a very interesting opening. I don't want to call it. I guess I could sort of call it a film or an animation of presumably you digging through dirt. What did you think of that? Cool. It was very demo-ish, wasn't it?
Yeah,
very opening.
yeah. It was very dynamic.
Yeah.
The music was great, of course. And when I first watched it, I wasn't really sure because I kind of went in blind this week. I wasn't really sure what I was in for.
Yeah.
Because the game is not reflective of what you might necessarily see in the open. But it was cool, and it would definitely, again, I just had a mind towards the CD32 owners out there who had just brought this new machine home, and they were, with the CD technology, they were itching for something to come up that impressed them, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I can tell you right now, it was exactly the same as it was on the on the non-CD32 version. So just that guy digging the whole music was different. That's it. So what in God's name is this crazy game? Well, I'm going to do my best to explain it, and I'm going to tag out the boat. This game takes place on a planet called Zarg. Okay, Zarg is a planet where that is rich in minerals and gems and stuff that's buried under the ground. Okay, there are 4 different races who vie to control all the underground wealth to get as much rich as they could. You've got the Habish, the Grablins, the Quarriers, and the Fatargs. Okay. Yes, these names are stupid. So, yes. What can I tell you? You're on the planet Zarg. What do you want? So, each of these races have a reason for wanting all this wad. Okay, and their reasons are goofy. Like, for example, I believe it's the Quarriers. No, I take that back. I think it's the Grablins. They want to build their own brewery. That's their gimmick.
Okay. Now this is all new to me because I didn't check out the docs on this game, so I'm interested in this.
Here's the funny thing about it. The one thing I like about the game is that if you look around in the very first screen, there's a guy that has like a book that will tell you all the stuff you need to know about the game. And so you get one thing it does is it goes through. Trust me. Remember when we played Epic? And it had like about 1 million tons of
flavor
text. This game was like hold my beer, and it flavor text. There's a zillion tons of flavor text in this. There's tons of it, and so but it tells you what each of the races are good at. It also tells you what their motivation is. Now, let's face facts. None of this has any bearing on the game. What they're good at does, but not what they ultimately want.
Right.
So. Each race does have a benefit and a detriment. The Habish are quick diggers and have high endurance, but are impatient and they're prone to wander off. This actually, believe it or not, that's an element in the game. We'll get to it. The grab ones are fast and have good stamina, but they can't fight. The quarriers are the toughest fighters, but they're slow diggers because they're big oafs. And the fatargs are sort of middle of the road, and they get their health back quicker. So what you're supposed to do in this game is you've got 5 diggers. Once you pick your race, you pick one of 2 areas to begin with. Now, there's a huge map that you see. This is one of those deals where you have to earn the right to get to the next area. So you beat one area, you earn the next area. I believe the game has like, I want to say 34 areas.
There's a lot.
It had a goodly amount of areas. Yeah, 34 regions. And you get 2 to start. Now, the regions will range from sort of mountainy, grasslands, swamps, deserts, ice areas. You know, it's what you would expect, hotter places. So your goal is to go down and meet a minimum requirement for amount of money you're going to make in that round. Okay? And you have 5 different diggers to work with to try to make that money. All right? And you're basically, they're literally independent of each other. They go down and just do whatever they want. And they go down. And you tell them what to do. Now, before we get too deep into the gameplay in this boat, what did you think of the opening? Did you like how you make your selections? Did you have a chance to look over any of the stuff that's in that opening office? There's all kinds of little stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine. This is another example of a game like that is obviously meant for an international release because they don't put any text in the game.
Absolutely.
And
5 languages.
This is really to your detriment if you don't have the docs. For example, you open the book to see what kind of diggers, what race of diggers you want, and you get all of these. I mean, you get like a heart, and you assume, well, I guess that means health. But some of the icons they're not exactly transparent in what the icons mean.
Correct. You a very astute. And it is one of those, and we've played several. I think the one that comes to mind is like Settlers.
Right.
I believe it was like that, where it's just like you get these icons, and it's funny because if you look at the icons real hard, you can sort of tell what they mean. Like there's an arm going like this, well, that's strength, for example. There's a heart, and it tells you how much energy you've got, whatever. And the same thing with what you have your miner doing. Right. There's a little shovel for digging and a foot for moving. It's not this isn't as hard as it could be, but it's not as simple as I'd like it. How about that?
Yeah, well, when you're first starting out, it's really hard to know why any of that stuff matters.
Yeah.
So I picked a guy. I think I just picked like the whatever was first, and you go in. I had problems with navigating things in this game because they use a strange conceit to exit menus. You don't have like, okay, if you're in an office environment, the natural you're conditioned to look for a door to get out of the office. You're in there, you're talking to the dude, and you're like, how do I click out of the screen? Well, you've got to go to the bottom of the screen, and if you go to the bottom of the screen, the cursor changes, and it actually says exit. So I guess there is some text in this game, but it just like that took me a while to figure out. Which I mean, maybe that just means I'm an idiot, but it did.
I couldn't figure out how to get off the map for the exact same. I was like, what am I doing? And they don't tell you, for example, when you're picking a land, you have to just sort of. I read in the docs that you could pick one of the 2 lands that are on the far left of the screen. Because before, I just clicked around like an idiot, wondering what to do or how to leave. I was like, I'll reset the game. That'll get me out of it. So, they sound stupid. But, I mean, for a new player with no clue, it could be annoying at best.
Right. So you jump into the game, and I'm going to give you my take right now, Aaron. Okay?
Hot take.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Imagine a game where you've got a team of 5 diggers and you're competing against another team of 5 diggers to get money. Okay. And you can use the money to either progress through stages, or you can use that money to upgrade your digging abilities, add weapons and things. Because guess what? Another aspect of this game is going up and doing battle against the other team. Okay. So picture a game like Lemmings, except instead of trying to get your little dudes home, you're trying to dig for treasure, and you're trying to upgrade your equipment. You're trying to do battle with bad guys. Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think about that pitch?
Eh.
I think it sounds great. If somebody pitched that game to me, I would be like, yes, that sounds great. Because I love Lemmings. I
Yeah.
love the idea of digging for hidden treasure. You know, I love the idea of getting WAD, but you're doing a press your luck type thing. Like, do you want to spend your WAD to get out of the level, or do you want to spend your WAD to upgrade your equipment? I love the idea of introducing an enemy group of diggers that you can battle against. I think all that stuff is awesome. So I'm going to say right now, before I say anything bad, the concept of this game, I think, is great. I think it's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's where the game falls apart. There's a couple things. Okay. The first thing is that the UI is horrible. When you are selecting your digger, you select your digger. You don't do it by kind of like a mini map type thing like Lemmings. You've got a 5 buttons on the bottom that literally just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay. You select your digger by selecting one of those numbers and it jumps to them. Okay. So you have your digger, and now it's time to get your digger to do something. Okay. So instead of clicking on your digger and clicking in a direction that you want him to dig in, what you have to do instead is you have to select an arrow to get him to dig in a particular direction. Now, do these arrows surround your digger in a logical way? Like, do they pop up all around your digger and you just click on the one that you want him to go to? No, they pop up in a corner of the screen. Okay. Are the arrows themselves laid out in a logical way? No, it's a hodgepodge of buttons. Okay. What about the other things your digger can do? Well, he can dig, he can pick things up, he can stand still, he can return back to the home. He can do lots of things. But the icons in this game are not helpful. I mean, the dig icon, obviously, okay, it makes sense. But to me, I found this iconography bad. All of the icons are one color. This is a freaking CD32 game, man. This is AGA graphics. Where are you at, AGA? Where are you at, Doug? Because this is not getting it done. This is no good, okay? I hated the way the icons looked. I hated the way the UI looks. Okay, here's another problem. Okay, your diggers are all over the map. Okay,
Yeah.
There's no way to see at a glance where your diggers are. You have to go into a separate menu. That's inexcusable in a game like this, because a game like this depends on fast action. This is not a turn-based strategy game. This is a real-time puzzle adventure like Lemmings, okay? Just imagine if you couldn't see where your Lemmings were on that little radar screen. This game is in desperate need of a radar screen that's on screen, and you should be able to select your diggers from that radar screen. Because guess what? Your mind normally goes to like, okay, if you're not watching the video version of the podcast, imagine 5 buttons laid in a single horizontal row. Okay, these represent your 5 diggers, but sometimes like digger number 2 is going to be further to the left than digger number 1. Okay, and you can't easily tell where those diggers are by this, and that to me just killed the experience, because this is a game that depends on being able to take fast action. Okay, it's hard for me to. Okay, your comments on the UI, Aaron.
It stinks. I hate it. I agree with almost everything. In fact, I don't think you said anything I don't agree with, except for not liking your close-up. Let me tell you what I didn't like about this. The UI, the screen, you can't scroll the screen. There's no radar.
Right.
And so you basically have to click between these 5 guys, okay? Like you said, there's no way you can remember who's where. Inevitably, my guys would be caught in a hole or doing something stupid. They weren't helpful at all. When you click the pop-up UI, it popped up in inconvenient spots that I couldn't see what was going on because the UI had just covered a spot I needed to see. I didn't like that either. I didn't like the fact that I had to click to make them do everything. And you didn't even get to the fact that these guys move, and the movement of these guys also sucks, moving them, because you actually have to do stuff in real time, like jump, and you have to jump over obstacles that'll kill you.
Yeah.
And so, and trust me, this is not the UI you want to use in a split-second timing situation. It's crap. You know what I would have enjoyed a lot more? This game had elements I would have liked, But having to control, first of all, too many guys. My God. I felt like Liberace. I was just going to work trying to keep all this stuff straight. That's why I tried the joystick and the key. By the way, I don't recommend the gamepad because it's just, why? Because getting around the screen is just quicker with a mouse. Duh.
Right.
The fact that they released this on CD32.
Why did they make the screen not scroll? Why could they not make it where if you clicked and dragged with the right mouse button, you couldn't just pan over the playfield?
Dude, I don't even know. I don't know what the heck they were thinking.
Yeah.
And then the digging itself, I want to get to that a little bit. There are just places you can't go. Okay, there's rocks or whatever. But there are places that you can't, I swear to you, I can't figure out why I can't go there. There's dirt. I could dig that direction. Why won't he go? I don't know. You know, stuff like that, frustrating stuff. You have to go, when you finally uncover some gold or some jewels or some hidden stuff, you've got to go over and grab it.
Right.
And that whole thing is a hassle.
That's number one. That's I retract whatever I said was number one before, because
this
that's
is 1A.
Yeah. In a game called Diggers, you got to make your guy automatically pick up whatever you uncover.
Yes.
Why
would you not? Why would you not?
Right. If you're a digger and you uncover some treasure, are you going to be just like, meh, and then move on?
No.
Heck no. You're going to put it in your pocket. Make that happen. Do not make that a separate keyboard command, because guess what? A lot of times these guys will uncover stuff as they're digging down into a ditch, okay? And they'll pass by the treasure, and the treasure will just be left floating in the air.
Yeah.
And then you've got to maneuver a guy down the ditch, and I guess you just kind of have to time your button press so you can grab it on the way down. I don't know how that works, but that definitely happened to me. The treasure is all, I think, randomly generated, you know, in the level, so it's never in the same place twice. And I mean, just having the ability to auto pick up the treasure, I think I could have forgiven much of everything else, but that is truly the unforgivable sin of this game.
I'm assuming, Bo. Now, we haven't touched on this, and there are reasons I'm wagering, because as you get into the game and earn money, you actually, when you get gems, precious metals and whatnot, you'll then go to like a barter, an exchange area where you exchange these items for money, and you will go and you will get different. They'll be worth different stuff at different times. You take the money, and then you take the money and go to a store, and you can buy different sorts of equipment, including like train tracks and cars and better digging devices and stuff to keep water from coming into your cave. There's all sorts of stuff. Now, I didn't get very deep into that area of the game, all right, for the obvious reasons that I sucked, okay? But I'm going to go on the assumption, I'm going to give this game the benefit of the doubt, and on the assumption that the reason they put in that pickup element had something to do with one of these later elements in the game, but
like an auto harvester or something like that.
Or maybe, and that's a straight up guess, because among other things in this game, there's not a ton of people that played this for any length of time. I found a DOS walkthrough, but I couldn't get very far in it. And so it was a lot of the elements that were just I didn't get a chance to fool with that much. I barely could get past the second level, and it wasn't fun for me. You know,
I think that I got about as far as you did, and I mean, I could play the game. I figured out how to play the game, but man, if it wasn't one of the least enjoyable experiences of my life playing this thing, and it's because I think the reason why I was so disappointed, I mean, right now, when we do best of, this is my disappointment of the year. No problem. No, there's no question, because the game concept is genius. It's great. It's fantastic. This could have been one of the all-time classics on the Amiga. And it is just such a slog. It's such a slog. It never feels fun.
This game, to me, it looked like a boat. It was like made for you when I first saw it.
Yeah, I normally love this kind of stuff.
And I'll tell you something else I should mention is that it's also slow. All right,
Yeah.
did we mention how slow it is? It's slow, but still annoyingly difficult to get around. The interface kills this. I mean, we could sit here and redesign this game, and we're idiots, and we could make this better instantly. Scrolling screen, a radar just like Lemmings. If you're going to sort of hork Lemmings gimmick, hork it all, man.
Hork the good stuff.
There's a reason why they put that crap in there. You know, also, can I rename my guys or something so I could keep track of them? Wouldn't that have been a lot easier if you could have named them? So you could be like, okay, I know where Joe's at, and there's Fred, Billy.
Right, because remember, this is way at, or I mean, this is around the same time as Worms. I can't remember when Worms came out, but Worms had tiny guys on the screen with their names floating above them.
Yeah. So and even if they named them for you, even that would have helped. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 don't cut it, and you can't tell who's who.
Well, at least float 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 above their names. Make them match up. Anything would have been an improvement.
If I'd picked up a CD32 and I looked at the 2 pack-in games, this and Oscar, and we've looked at Oscar at some point, and now we're looking at this. Man, I would have boxed that CD32 back up and had that saying, take it back to Sears or whatever, so quick your head would have spun. Because these games would not, this game, there's a certain set of people that love this game, okay? And it's understandable, and it got decent reviews. We'll get to that. And if you've got the patience to sit down on your Amiga with your mouse and play this game on your computer, I can understand it. Because there's a certain set of people that are good at these sorts of games. However, if that same certain person sat down at the CD32 to play this game and it didn't have a mouse, you could be the king dong of games. And playing this on that pad would be no easy feat, my friend.
Why this was chosen? I mean, can you think about the thought process that must have gone on where they chose a game that is, it's definitely playable, but it's a suboptimal experience to use. And this is in the heat of Amiga trying to compete with the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
Listen, there's a reason why the CD32 died horribly, Boat. All right, and it was because every decision a wrong one. They made all the wrong decisions. And I'm assuming that Millennium was like, hey, Commodore, we'll let you put these games in for like $1.50 or whatever. Like, sold, cheap, sounds good to me. It'll be great. And then they didn't even look at the game. And then when you get this at the house, you're like, what in God's name did I just buy? I mean, listen, Brent hates Microcasm, for example. But a game like that, at least it looks like a different sort of game than you're used to playing. And you use the controller, and it's a basic game. Anything would have been better than this game as a CD32 pack-in. Horrible. One of the all-time worst pack-ins, Boat. That's going to be another ARG right there. Worst pack-in games.
Well,
this might be on the list.
It's a shame you've already covered this game, because that would have definitely been on the list.
So, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, I can't imagine, I didn't look at any of the reviews of this game. I can't imagine this reviewed well.
Before we get to the reviews, I want to, because there's a reason for this. Let's look at these. Let's look at the port comparisons.
Oh yeah,
for a moment.
Let's do that.
And I want you to look at the DOS version here. If you're watching at home, the DOS version runs at a decent clip. I think it runs at a better speed than the Amiga version. Of course, you never know what DOS game you're going to get. But I mean, ultimately, it looks about the same. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, this also got a release on the Acorn Archimedes boat.
I can't wait to see this.
So I stuck that on here, and here is your Acorn Archimedes running this game. Again, it looks about the same, maybe a little slower even, but I mean, I don't think the platform mattered all that much. I have to say the Acorn version even looks slower than the Amiga version.
Yeah, I mean, it really drags if this is running at full speed.
It's dragging along. Now, with all that said, I did have a chance to look at some reviews on this thing, Boatster. And the funny thing is, it reviewed pretty well. The people at Lemon gave the AGA version a 7.82. They gave the C32 version a 7.66. So about the same.
That's pretty low for Lemon.
The Amiga computer gave it a 94. Amiga Format 91. Amiga Joker, you'd think they'd kill it. No, they liked it. 70. Amiga Power 72. And AUI gave this an 83 and the 176. So the average magazine rating for this was 82%. And the average magazine rating for the CD32 was 78. So around 80.
I wonder if it's just because there really aren't that many games of this type. I mean, ever. You've got Lemmings, which is sort of like this, but it wasn't at the beginning of the show. Somebody in the chat mentioned this. It looks like Subterranean, which it does, but of course Subterranean is much newer. This is a sort of genre that it was different, and I can see why, especially without the benefit of hindsight of, UI choices, because this UI was probably not as abysmal in 1993 looking at it as we look at it now. But it's not our job to look at games as if they were from 1993. It's our job to look at them now based on our own experience, and this UI just hasn't aged well at all.
Well,
it's harder for a game like this to be able to be playable in 2021 versus a more simple game that is more streamlined for sure.
What makes me sad about this game is that there's some depth to it that when we literally barely scratched the surface on. For example, if you don't keep your diggers occupied, they will get annoyed. Mm-hmm. They will do dumb stuff. They will walk off on their own. Their moods and stuff affect what they do, and the different races have different moods, and even to a certain degree different abilities. There's also teleportation in this, and certain races can do it on the fly. The races are tinkered with to make them different. They behave differently, giving you different advantages and disadvantages. You're also competing with not only creatures that are underground, but also other miners underground. So there's a I don't want to say a combat element, but there's a confrontational element.
It's a rock paper scissors type thing. Like, you don't have direct combat, at least as far as I can figure out.
Yeah, but I mean I didn't get really that far into the game to where I could really. I mean, I got to touch that stuff, but I didn't get to really know what was going on. And the problem with a game like this is, the depth is fine, but you've got to come out of the gate strong with the reason to get someone into the game to the point where they'll get into that sort of gameplay elements.
Yeah, this game could have definitely used. Have you heard this one before? It definitely could have used a tutorial level where they're just like, here, this is what's going on. Here's something super mega easy for you to beat. I'm not saying that the first regular level wasn't easy to beat, but I didn't come out of it thinking I knew a whole lot more about what was going on.
Listen, if tutorial level or not, this interface is crap. There's nothing going to save it. There's no tutorial to explain to you why the interface was made. I want a tutorial on why they did it this way, because it was dumb. I mean, one thing, comparing this to Lemmings, and say what you will, most people like Lemmings, some people don't, but Lemmings had a nice, cohesive UI that it worked well. They used it over multiple games, and it worked well with the radar and the way they had the buttons laid out. And by the way, those buttons weren't labeled either. I mean, it was but you could figure it out. And there was lots more. So this game could have literally done it almost the exact same way with better results. Don't reinvent the wheel if you're trying to get a similar game out there. Just rip off what works and then use that instead of trying to come up with your own wacky thing. Did we get any Discord action on this one, Bode?
We did. We got one Discord review this week from the one and only master moderator and voice of Amiga Addict, Pixels at Dawn. Pix liked this game. He says, would it be too corny to call this a hidden gem? Maybe, but it's an apt description for an Amiga game that a lot of people won't have played. While it does look very pretty, I do question whether this couldn't have been done to some extent on OCS, but not to worry. It's a nice-looking game with interestingly different tile sets for different biomes.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a game for those that lack patience. There's a lot of micromanagement to deal with as you control the 5 miners individually, and while the game is overall pretty chilled, there's definitely some stress to be had as your workers, Lemming style, have a habit of getting themselves killed if you don't keep a watchful eye on them. I love the music for this game, which is no real surprise, coming from the late Richard Joseph as it does. I also appreciate that in-game, things are kept simple with more atmospheric audio rather than jaunty tunes that annoy after 5 minutes. Diggers has solid, if a little repetitive, gameplay, and to this day the mechanics of mine, sell, buy gear, mine better, are replicated in modern games like SteamWorld Dig and even Minecraft and about 1 million mobile games, some of which I play to this day. Do I dig it? Sure, brother. 8 out of 10.
He's got a lot of jack as a game player, and I will say I agree with some of the sound was good. You were kind of killing the graphics. I think the graphics are plenty serviceable for what they're doing. I mean, they're not. This is your new console good.
That was more of a slight at it being packed in with the CD32 rather than the graphics.
That truly is baffling.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I looked this up on eBay. Now, I could not find one boxed AGA version of this. I didn't find any. None. And I didn't find any that had been sold recently. So I'm either they didn't make very many, or it's just incredibly hard to find, or it just wasn't anything up. I did find plenty of the CD32 Diggers Oscar combos. There's a guy in selling one in France for $30. In Germany and the UK, about $30 on those. So you're getting around 20. I've seen them go for as low as 18. So if you shop around, you can get one if you're shopping for CD32. So I think I've actually owned this game, believe it or not, Bo. It just occurred to me. I think I got it on the shelf back there.
Oh, okay.
But it's not one that I'm going to go back to a lot, if you know what I mean. Just this doesn't do it for me. Really, I was interested to see what you would come up with on this, because you're better at these sorts of games than I am, and you're more patient than I am. I just couldn't get past how stupid how stupidly laid out it was. That's all I got to say.
I mean, if you, again, I'm going to say this again. If you were to click on your digger and surround him with arrows in the compass directions, that would have been so much better and so much easier. It wouldn't have hurt anything if you would have done that. And putting the arrows in a pattern, it's not even a compass style pattern when it's not near your guy. It's like left, up, right, down, up to one corner, down again. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I almost wish they'd done it like three Lost Viking style, where you just like hit the space bar to switch between guys, and you just use the controller to move them around. That would have been fine with me.
Well, if you're at the point where you're using a button for jump, this is the one time I don't like using button for jump, by the way. This is you can't do that and expect the player to have a good time. Like if you've got a button, if you don't have direct control over your player and you have a button to make him jump, that's bad. That's bad game design.
Yeah, I think they did what they did, and this game isn't one that I've heard talked about fondly today, and there's a reason for it. So there you go, Bo.
All right, Aaron. We got lots to talk about here on the back half of the show, so I think we should shift on over to the old Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel.
Yes, sir. So, we had some releases this week. Let's do what we always do, is talk about what me and the Brent got up to on ARG Presents. Again, we record live every Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week, Bo, games that scored 2 out of 10 or less. And then we had to sort of try to defend them, which I didn't do very well, I admit that. This was another one that was real tough to pick games for. It's hard to pick a game that stinks and then try to defend it. I mean, really stinks. There are games that are like 4 or 5. You could say, hey, this is pretty good with a couple flaws. But 2 out of 10, I mean, those are usually reserved for just absolute garbage. And pick garbage I did. As I picked Guerrilla War for the C64. Are you familiar with this one, Bo?
No. And after hearing your review, I will continue to not be familiar with it.
Every move a wrong one with Guerrilla War. But I mean, it was slow, ugly. It took out parts of the arcade game that were 10 times better. It was not a good game. So truly a 2 out of 10 game, but I did my best to defend it, but I didn't try that hard. Brent took maybe a controversial choice, Boat, when he went with Deadly Towers. Now, this is a game that has been repeatedly crapped on over the years, but I remember when Brent had this back in the day, and we did play this, and we hated it, but we did play it. I'm sure
I
you
was
played
shocked.
this one.
I was shocked when Brent reported that this was the top-selling NES game in 1987.
I could not believe that. I was stunned at that. Bo, have you ever had a chance to play this one?
This one I haven't played before. I hadn't really heard about it. I definitely saw it a lot, at flea markets and stuff, but I've never played this one.
This is a game that the designer of the game hated you and everyone you love, and they wanted to make sure you died horribly. This is also the answer to what happens when you want to make a Dungeons and Dragons game out of Marble Madness. This is the result. So if you're interested in checking out Deadly Towers or Guerrilla War, check us out on ARG this week. Next on the docket, Boat, Ask the Amigos from August. What do you remember about this one?
Well, we talked about character glasses. I know that.
Of all the things to pick out for the title, I vaguely remember talking about those. I don't remember much else either, though, to be honest with you. I think that's the 27th show we recorded that day. But we always have a good time answering questions from the listeners. And we had a bumper crop because we went like an hour and 18 minutes on this one, Boat. So pretty long show.
Yeah, when we do these shows, it's funny because I have so much fun doing Ask the
they are
Amigos.
great because you don't have to do any research. That's what I like about them.
Yeah, and it's always at the end of our of our nightmare block of 4 shows, so we can relax a little bit.
Yeah,
and so check it out if you want to see us kick back and answer some fun questions.
These are great just to listen to and like while you're going to bed or something.
Yeah.
Drift away as we say the dumbest crap we could think of. We did talk about Amiga thong in that one, I believe. That was what I remember. Here's one, Boat. This did okay this week. You know, every once in a while, Boat, I'll do a little thing called Amigo Aaron's Friday Night Disaster Stream. And this was no different. This is a video that I edited out from a couple weeks ago's Disaster Stream. The intriguing concept, I thought it was intriguing, Boat. What kind of wacky Amiga games moved on to the PlayStation, Boat? And by God, more than a few. If I'm honest, including stuff like Sensible Soccer's sequel. We also looked at sequels to Speedball 2. There was a sequel in there. We looked at the Pinball Fantasies, sort of like remake on here. We looked at, what's the other soccer game? The real famous one. I'm suddenly, my brain locked up. Kickoff. We looked at the Kickoff sequel on here.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of other stuff. Oh, IK Plus we looked at, if you can believe that, got a port. So these were PlayStation ports of Amiga stuff. Then we sort of closed the show looking at some arcade ports that went to the PlayStation. And some of them were okay, some of them weren't. We had a lot of fun, though, so that's stuck up there. If you're interested in seeing what more modern versions of Amiga games look like, check it out. That is the Amiga's Legacy on the original PlayStation stream.
I hope you do another one of these because I really enjoyed seeing like all of the games that we know about sort of taken forward or sometimes not taken forward into a newer generation.
Sensible Soccer, that Sensible World of Soccer, whatever it was on the PlayStation, that was unbelievably bad.
Sensible were doing their part to keep players on European computers. Yeah. That's what they were doing.
Horrible. I don't know if you cut the beginning of that, but I instantly went out and scored a goal. It was awesome in the first football game. I felt like King Dog. Now, Boat, I'm just going to hand the show to you here. Tell us about this one.
Well, Aaron, it is sure to become one of the most popular videos ever released on our channel. Last Friday, I believe you were indisposed.
That's true.
And I decided to play some Mr. Do. We'd been talking about Mr. Do on the Discord. I start things out with about 5 minutes of black screen here as I gaze at the technical problems. But
that's the parts I cut out of mine, Boat.
Yeah. I do eventually get into Mr. Do, and me and Lord Soup have a nice chat about this and that, and I play Mr. Do, Mr. Do's Castle, Mr. Do's Wild Ride, and Do Run Run. Of course, Do Run Run being my favorite arcade game of all time. I'll tell you what, Aaron, Mr. Do games still hold up. All of them hold up. They're wonderful games, with the exception of Mr. Do's Wild Ride, which is just, I think it's way too hard. And of course the nightmare that is Neo Mr. Do on the Neo Geo, which is just, it's an abomination. It's affront to God and man.
It's got 2 players simultaneous do play though, as I recall. And that
I did play some Mr. Do Tapper at the end also.
I know that. I was going to say, I didn't see Mr. Do in this. So there you go. If you want to see Boat and Lord Soup play play a bunch of Mr. Do, there you go. Hey, who doesn't like Mr. Do? That guy's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, speaking of awesome, here he is. Bam. It's Frodo. I know he was in his little suit there. This is the first year of the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. Provocative topic, Boat.
Yeah.
In my opinion. This is the first year of the Game Boy Advance. I'm guessing you had one of these bad boys, didn't you, at the time?
I did not buy a Game Boy Advance when they were first released. I waited until the SP with the backlight came out, and then I jumped on board.
You know, the Brent had a non-backlit one, and I remember taking it on a band trip. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome.
Can we talk about this again?
No, you know what? I take that back. You know where I was going on for this?
Where were you going?
It was on a bus. Right, and then where I was going was, this would have been 2002. I know where I was going. I was heading to the airport for a trip to Mexico.
There you go.
I believe is where I was going.
Because
so
Brent
I knew it happened on a
from
bus.
high school in 1996.
Listen, Brent, he botched a few grades, Bo. He lies about that. I think it's about 2004 before he finally made it out the door. But listen, this is a very intriguing video because the GBA came around. They gave us some great stuff. I mean, if you look at this, I'll watch some of this.
Well, the
night.
GBA, I mean, we talk about, we talk a lot about botched launches. The GBA came out swinging. They came out swinging hard. Nintendo knew that this was the first direct follow-up, which is insane. This was the first direct follow-up to the Game Boy.
Yeah.
We had nothing basically from 89 until 2001. So they knew they had to blow the doors off, and of course they did.
You don't count the Game Boy Color as a sort of sequel to it.
They were all running off the same hardware.
Yeah.
So.
Listen, Nintendo, when it comes to their portable systems, with one exception, they don't screw around. They make the big money. They know, all the first party stuff's going to be solid gold.
Yeah.
Then they get some of their top shelf partners to crank out some crap, your Capcoms and the like, and then they take it to the house, the vault. They take it to the vault.
Yeah, and then they open the floodgates for all the shovelware.
Now, I want to draw your attention if you're watching, and I'll describe this if you're not watching home. Our good buddy Frodo and L, when summoned by his chat, has been known to don the costume, and here he is in all of his glory in his penguin suit.
Yes.
This thing's hotter than fire.
Actually watched it. Does he travel off screen to change into the penguin suit?
Would you prefer him to do it there on screen?
I thought that might have been part of the show.
No, that's not. That's
okay.
That's Frodo and L after dark, both. But Frodo, he loves his listeners so much that he will put on. He already dyed his hair. Here he is putting on his crazy suit, and I love it. I love that. Frodo always draws a big crowd. And there's two reasons why. Number one, he's got a great personality. Number two, he's always got a cunning plan when it comes to these streams. And so I fully approve of this. The GBA stuff, good stuff from our good buddy Frodo. Thank you, Frodo. You're always coming through with the good stuff. Boat, I think, my friend, that's all we've got there in the old kitty for
all
videos.
Right.
Oh, I guess you would talk about you and Neil. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, so me and Neil, we recorded big episode 50 last week.
Huge.
And unfortunately, big episode 50 got mangled by Riverside.fm.
Oh no.
Yeah, we recorded this is the Amigas in Space episode, which we recorded, we talked about last week.
Great thumbnail, by the way, on that. I laughed heartily at that. So your newest episode, is it completely gone?
Was completely gone. It was in such a state that not even Duncan, who's managed to pull wreckage from and put episodes together, he was unable to do anything with it. So we're going to have to re-record episode 50. We're doing that on Monday. So look for a new episode this time next week. Big episode 50, where we talk about this is finally the story, Aaron, where we talk about the WADA games, scandal with the grading and all that stuff.
We talked about it on Discord. I will say, if you have not caught Amiga in Space episode 49, which just came out on the 28th, so it just came out a couple days ago, make sure you check this out. Very good, interesting episode here that I enjoyed. The thumbnail was great, by the way, as like I mentioned. The new Zelda thing that appeared in the Motel game
Motel
server
Zelda
thing, wacky. So I thought that was fun. Of course, we know about the Amiga at NASA, but still, it's always kind of fun. And the fact that they made Unreal with the Simpsons on the Unreal Engine, interesting. I can see where that might be amusing. So, of course, you and Neil always bring the heat, bring the noise, Boat. Good stuff. So check that out with the big episode 50 forthcoming.
This Week in Retro, yeah.
There you go.
All right, Aaron, let's slide on over to the old Discord channel and talk about what's been going on our high score challenges here. Okay, so we just had a challenge that ended, and of course Z9K9 won. He wins all the time. He's the man. He won the Bomb Jack Beer Edition contest.
Outstanding.
And as winner, he gets to choose the next game. And get this, Aaron, he's chosen Mindwalker to be the next Amigos high score challenge game. Now, what do you remember about Mindwalker, Aaron?
He was Texas Mind Ranger, Bode.
Man, that's true. It's also this was the first game, I believe, that Anthony Jarvis reviewed on the Amiga show in episode 1.
Right here, bam.
Yeah,
I'm wearing the shirt right now.
So I will be checking that out to get some tips, because if I recall correctly, this is not an easy game to just jump into.
No. Yeah, I love it.
So you can jump on the Discord and throw in a score on our high score. Take Z9K9 down, please. We're begging you.
Listen, we're looking at you, Buck Owens.
That's right.
We're looking at you, Paul. Some of the heavyweight studs. You got to take care of business.
That's right. And of course, on the Specky High Score Challenge, I just put up a score last night. We're playing Rodland, Aaron, getting ready for the next show, the next Our Sinclair episode. I played the colorized version of Rodland, which is a treat. It's so much better than the monocolor original version. And I put up a pretty good score, except it's still in last place by a mile. But that's
Rodland's your bag too. Yeah. What happened, man?
I'm just, it is my bag. It's just not as big of a bag as other people's got.
I've heard that. Well, what are you gonna do, Bo?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to Hermsky's big bag, it's all Rodland all the time. So, speaking of Our Sinclair, a ZX Spectrum podcast, we highly encourage all Amigos Game Selection Committee members, Clive's Club members, 1200XL Game Selection Committee members, and Coco Show Game Selection Committee members to please vote on the tiebreak, Aaron. The tiebreak is going to run for another couple weeks, and we are trying to decide what the next game after Rodland is going to be. It's down to 2. We started out with like 5, and now it's down to 2. Rampage or Mikey. Which one are you pulling for, Aaron?
Oh, man. Listen, I don't want to influence the judges, but I've never heard of Mikey, and I love Rampage. So.
You've definitely heard and played Mikey many times.
I've played Mikey. What is it?
This is the game that plays a hard day's night, and you got to bump the guys out of the school desks with your butt.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Tough choice. That got a port to the Spectrum?
Unbelievable,
Well, shut my mouth. Let's pick that then. I'll change my mind. I'm stunned. When you said Mikey, I thought it was maybe based on this breakfast cereal. I had no idea they would have... But you know what I mean? What are the odds that's going to get a port? I can't believe it.
Are you saying that there was a British ZX Spectrum game based on a U.S. ad for Life cereal?
You don't think that ad made it to the UK? I guarantee it did.
Maybe. We'll follow up on that in the next episode.
Give it to Mikey. He'll eat anything.
All right, Aaron. So that does it for our Discord community updates this week. It's now time to talk about last week's Patreon song challenge. We did pick up a new supporter this week. We want to welcome Peter Price. Peter Price, welcome to the Amigos Retro Gaming family. We definitely appreciate your support. And if you would like to support Amigos, just head on over to patreon.com/Amigos podcast. And you can become part of the song, part of the challenge. Last week's challenge was Chattahoochee by Alan Jackson.
That would explain why I had no idea what you were singing. I had no idea what that was.
We had 3 correct entries. We had Krabs MTG, L Curtis Boyle, and Andy Craig. Congratulations, North Americans all. I'm not sure how big Alan Jackson was across the pond.
Not a big export, I'm guessing. Yeah. I'm from here. I'm from the countryest place on earth, and I know who it was. So don't feel bad, all you Europeans. I didn't know either. People down south, I don't know.
So this week, Aaron, it's back after a multi-month hiatus.
Oh man,
the Patreon band is back, and Aaron, I'm just gonna announce it right now. This is the last video where we're gonna be known as the Amigos Patreon band. Instead, we're changing our name, Aaron.
Do we know what it's gonna be called?
You're gonna find out in just a couple weeks on our next song.
Oh,
Boom!
Man.
It'll be the big reveal. But for right now, Aaron, it's time to reveal this week's Patreon song challenge. If you know it, send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com. Please do not, if you're watching live, please do not write it in the chat. Send me an email. I will announce you as a winner on next week's show. Hit it, Aaron.
Brace yourselves, people. This one is, oh man, this is epically weird. Here we go.
David Hunt, Chris Edwards, Ram OK, David Terrace, Stu Carlos, Matthew Mobius, the Phantom Magnus, Seth Yates, Alistair B, Chris Christian Russell, David C. George, Zansky, Amiga Show, David Crabtree, Super Famicom, Crazy Lumens, William Venter, Skag Heavy Systems, and Grundy Fraglord, Mike Byland, Olapo, Hermsky, Jonah, A.K. Simulant, Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Albert Boy, Leighton, Son, Hudson, John Cook on the bass, Frodo and El Sol and Sizer, Tech Major and Mr. Kohler, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington's All Love Reflection, Simon Bledge, Captain Crispy, Caleb Bites and Caffey, Gary Heather, Freeland, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobstone and a 10, Mark Bernard Lucas, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, RMC. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John Shaw,
Rob O'Hara, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Leonard, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craigshaw's old Barbie,
Burke and Marks, baby, no.
Joe the Zombie, Leaf Killan, Alec Bow,
Joe the Zombie, Lake, Kaland, Ellen Kebab, no.
Checo Taylor, Left Law, oh,
Left follow.
Creepy Dead Boy,
Creepy Dead Boy, Creepy Dead Boy.
You hero,
Oh, there's the love of Norris, Ricky Roche.
Stefan Sogard bought the sun. Granddad had a bad speed. Christopher Hasselblad had a long Giroux. Adam Bradley. O'Brien's retro and vintage. Gary Hucker, Boss Manton,
Good Styles.
Takes from the crib. Josh Nestos.
Jonas Brulo, THD, Eric Nelson, Bruno Barracuda, Tim Tommy Humberstead, Daniel Benston, Darren Cole, baby. Oh,
Jason was Pixels at Dawn. John Barnett.
Mr. John Shawler.
Epic, Boat. Epic.
An epic effort by the Amigos Patreon band.
Don't scream
we wanna, of
encore.
course,
Are you an idiot? No.
we want to, of course, thank all of them. I got Reflection on guitars. We got the one and only Figgy CTZ on the keys, the synths. We have, I guess, Reflection. He played bass, probably some guitar overlays. I did a little acoustic on there somewhere in the mix. And, of course, Pixels at Dawn with the lead vocal and the editing. Reflection did the mixing. It's a team effort in the Patreon band. And we did it again, guys. Good job.
I couldn't believe that was Pixel singing. What a butch-looking
He looked like
stud
a Stone Cold
boy.
Killer. Yeah,
he
with
looked
those
like one of the guys
wraparounds.
from like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like, you better pay back this dude's money or they're going to send Pixels after you.
Yeah. Well, next week, Aaron, on the show, it's back. It's Educainment Week. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And at long last, Aaron, I've been waiting on this one for literally since we introduced the Educainment category and I saw it on the list. It's Fun School.
I don't know that one. Fun School?
Fun School.
That don't
How
sound
could it
right.
not be fun? It's right there in the title.
Listen, it's Fun School for you. You get paid to be there.
So we want to, of course, we want to thank Pixels at Dawn for choosing and nominating Diggers for the Amigos Game Selection Committee. Fun School has been nominated by Brutal Barracuda and elected by all of the members of all our game selection committees as a group effort. So we appreciate all of the Amigos Game Selection Committee members. And Aaron, we will see you next week with another issue, another episode. You know,
There you go.
another thing. We're going to be here next on Friday. We're gonna talk. Yeah, that'll be that. So until then, adios.